Okay, I think we can hear you now.
Okay.
All right. Okay, so coming to us from Florida is Miss Christina Curtin. Yeah, she's an author, and she's going to read to us some of her stories. And then we're going to get to talk to her about a new way that she's illustrating her books. So how she comes up with the pictures, it's a unique way and very new. So I'm going to pass it over to you. Thank you.
Okay, sure. I actually have a couple slides I'm going to talk about it too. I hope I'm not too high level for everybody, but I wanted to be a little prepared. Okay, so before reading my story, I just wanted to introduce myself. Like Danielle mentioned, I wanted to talk about the way I illustrated my book, and then also talk quickly about the different ways you can get your book published if you're interested someday in being an author. So a little bit about me. My name is Christina Curtin, like Danielle mentioned. During the day, I have a full-time job that lets me work from home. One thing that I do in my job is I get to teach others how to use a very important tool, and it's very hard to use. So it's important that there's the right training and communication around it. So that's one thing that I get to do. I have 4 daughters. My oldest just turned 17, and then my youngest is 6 months old. So there's a big gap. My oldest 2 keep me busy with their activities. They both play soccer. And then my daughter, Evie, who's almost 4, she keeps me busy going to the playground and the library and playing Paw Patrol all day. Other than spending time with my family, I love all things Disney. Growing up, I wanted to actually voice a Disney princess. That hasn't happened yet. So instead, I just sing to my kids and they get annoyed, but I'm still holding on to the dream. I grew up living in Pittsburgh, but now I live in Florida. We moved here about 7 years ago. We wanted to be closer to the beach, have more sunshine, and then Disney, of course. So princesses aside, I just wanted to talk really quickly about my dream of being a writer and my journey and how I got there really fast. Here's a timeline on me becoming an author. So it started off with me being born. And then I had an awesome teacher in 3rd grade that gave me a lot of confidence about my writing, and she really fueled my dream to become an author. And then another teacher some years later did the exact opposite. I let her negative words crush my dreams, and I stopped writing for a long time. Until years later, I realized that one teacher can't know everything. I love to write, and so I should write. I decided to start a blog, which is like an online journal or a diary. And on the blog, I write about myself and my family and my thoughts. And it's a lot of fun to do, and a lot of people enjoy reading it too. And then along the way, I was also inspired by my daughters and my life to write seven children's stories. 2 of them so far I've self-published. And then the other ones I'm trying to get traditionally published using a literary agent. So with that being said, I just wanted to talk to you guys really quickly about the 2 different kinds of publishing, self-publishing and then traditional publishing. And then after that, I'll share the really cool story about illustrations. So one thing you might not know is that you can self-publish your book. Anyone can do this. There are companies out there that can help you, but they charge money. They'll help you find an illustrator if you need it. They'll bind and print and list your books on places like Amazon, or you can do it yourself. It's a lot more work, but you have more control. With self-publishing, you are in charge of getting the book out there. You're in charge of promoting it, and it can be tricky to get people to notice your book among all the amazing stories out there. So you'll need to do a lot of extra work to get the word out. Traditional publishing, on the other side, is like a team effort between the author, so it would be myself, and a big company called a publisher. Most often, authors need to find an agent to help them talk to the bigger publishers, since these bigger companies are kind of too busy to consider every book and author out there. The agent promotes the book to the publisher on behalf of the author. Some good things about traditional publishing is you get a bunch of experts to help you with preparing and promoting your book. These publishers have a lot of connections with the bookstores and libraries, so your books reach more people more easily. The downside of traditional publishing, along with it being harder to get accepted, is that you have less control over your book. It can take a long time for the publisher to turn your idea into a real book, and you make less money if your book sells. So like I mentioned, the first step to getting traditionally published, aside from writing your story, of course, is to get an agent. And most publishing companies won't accept submissions from authors directly. Like I said, you need to have an agent reach out to them for you. To get an agent, you need to research and find ones that represent the types of books you wrote. Not all agents, for example, represent children's stories. Once you find the right type of agent, you need to then reach out to each one or research each one a little bit to find out what kind of children's stories they're looking for. So for example, some agents don't like books with animals in them at all. And then some agents don't like books that rhyme. So you have to make sure you do your research first before you reach out to them. And now that you know which type of agent you're looking for, or what agent is looking for a story like yours, you need to write them a love letter, basically, telling them why your book is great and why they should represent you as an author. After you send your love letter, which is called a query in the industry, you wait to hear back from the agent on whether or not they want to represent you. Sometimes the agent will respond, and sometimes they won't. They get a lot of love letters, and you keep sending letters until someday an agent says yes. And then once they say yes, you're one step closer to becoming traditionally published. So which is better, traditional or self-publishing? It really depends on what direction the author wants to go in. I self-published 2 of my stories so far. One was many, many years ago, and it did not sell as well as it could have for, I think, 2 reasons. First off was promotion. I didn't tell enough people that my book was out there. This was before social media was as big as it was now, so I didn't have that platform, but still I didn't market it as much as I should have to sell more copies. And then second, I self-published using a company to help produce my book. They charged me money and they provided an illustrator to draw it, but I didn't really like the drawings. The illustrator wasn't my style. And illustrations are a big part of children's stories. As you guys probably know, you like to see the pictures in the books. And I didn't like the pictures in my book. And I think that held me back from promoting my story more than I did at the time. So that leads me to how I illustrated my next book using artificial intelligence. If you haven't heard of artificial intelligence yet, it's called AI. You will soon. So what is AI? Well, imagine you have a robot friend who can think and learn a lot like you do, but it lives inside of computers instead of walking around like us. That's all AI is. It's like giving computers brains so they can do smart things like answer questions and play games. So just like you learn new things from your parents and teachers and books, AI learns from information and examples that people give it. It's like we teach the robot buddy how to do cool tricks by showing them how to over and over again until it gets really good at it. And AI is always learning new things, and people are always creating new connections for AI. Right now, AI can answer questions for you. So if you've ever asked Alexa or Siri a question, that's using AI. AI can actually tell you stories and can also create cool new stories if you give it direction on what type of story you want it to write. AI can even help you sing better or create your own music. There are apps that can tune your voice, add cool effects to your songs, and even compose new music for you to sing along to. And lastly, there are tools in AI that can help you draw and paint and create digital art. They can give you ideas, help you with coloring, and even make your doodles into masterpieces. AI actually helped me a lot with this presentation. So all these little stick figures you've seen in this presentation and in these slides, I used AI. I also asked AI how to explain AI to you. So that's helped me write a lot of this content. And then lastly, I used AI to create the images you are going to see in my book, which I'll be reading to you in just 1 minute. But one thing I wanted to mention and for you to keep in mind is AI isn't as good yet as a real human illustrator. You can't ask it to do too many things or it gets really confused. And it's not really good at making consistent pictures. But AI is still able to make beautiful images that can bring a book to life. So now I wanted to read the book I wrote called This Is Not a Good Night Book. It's not a bedtime book, but it's supposed to help little ones get settled down and get ready to sleep. And I was inspired to write this by my daughter, Evie, who always liked a book read to her at nap time, but all the stories we had were centered around good night and getting ready for bed. And so I wanted to write something that wasn't focused on that. And so this is Not a Good Night book by Christina Curtin, and all the illustrations were done with AI. It's not dark out yet. Mr. Sun and the birds are still awake. This is not a good night book, but you've been up since daybreak. There are no stars out to wish on, but you are growing and need energy. This is not a good night book, but curtains are drawn, blocking out the sun's beams. You have played every single minute, a tornado of fun in every room. This is not a good night book, but you are laying down very soon. There's still a lot of exploring to do. The day isn't over quite yet. This is not a good night book, but time to rest, snuggle up, and reset. You have munched and snacked for hours, little smears and smudges left all around. This is not a good night book, but eyes are droopy, head heavy, ready to lay down. Bath time will come later, bubbles filling the tub to your eyes. This is not a good night book, but time for whispers, dim light, and lullabies. Grab your pillow, blankie, and Ted. Settle down, settle in, and sigh. This is not a good night book, but time for yawns, sheep for counting, and no more whys. Stain your clothes and skip the PJs, saving those for later on tonight. This is not a good night book, but time to get tucked in, toasty tight. The time is here, your eyes are closed, my voice bringing you closer to your dreams. This is not a good night book, but let's curl up, cozy in, and breathe deep. Before you know it, you will be awake, ready to restart this day. This is not a good night book. It's a nap time story. Sweet dreams, rest, and then again, you can play. That's it. Anybody have any questions?
I didn't unmute it in time, but we all clapped for you, Christina.
Oh, yay, thank you.
I'm sorry. You're doing
No,
it.
that's okay. I still can't hear it.
Does anybody have
see
any
them.
questions? What is your question, Alexandria? You said what? Oh, okay. Very nice. Does anybody have questions about? Go ahead, Joseph.
So, that this is not a good night book.
Did you hear what he said?
No.
He said his question is, in all the pages, why did it say this is not a good night book?
Well, so because you're reading it, the kid is getting ready for bed, but they're not going good. It's not for good night time, it's for nap time. So when you go to sleep during the day when the sun's still out, so we're telling the kid it's not good night time, it's nap time.
Does anybody else have any questions? Any questions? Yeah, go ahead. Does AI important what? Oh, so we had someone ask, does using AI shorten the time that it takes to get a book together to be published?
So for me, yes, because I can't draw. I can see, I kind of have ideas of what I want stuff to look like, and that's why AI is really cool. Is you just say 3-year-old blonde girl getting ready for bed, holding a teddy bear, and there's different styles of drawings. And so if you want watercolor, or if you want it drawn like in a pencil, or look like it's cut out of paper, it'll make that style for you. So I could make all these drawings that were in this book took me maybe 8 hours, I would say, combined to get a look that I wanted. I'm not an illustrator. If I would have tried to draw this or paint it, it would have never happened. If you're artistic and you have that capability, I don't know how long. I think it would take you probably that long, if not longer, to kind of get all that done. So for me, yes, it definitely shortened the time, because now that I have these illustrations, they're not perfect. I could pick them apart, but it's enough that if I wanted to go and get this self-published, there's a site called Ingram Spark, and you can upload all this material, get an ISBN number, and push it up to Amazon. People would start buying it within a day. So for me, yes, it definitely did, because now I have the illustrations and I didn't have that before.
That's awesome.
I got a question.
Go ahead, Christian.
Which AI software did you use to make your illustrations?
I used Mojo AI, and it goes through Canva. If you guys have ever used Canva, that's actually what I used for this presentation. It's integrated with Canva.
Canva.
Yeah, so you can use it right in there, and you get a lot of images for free. And then afterwards, you can buy like 600 for $13 or something. It's crazy, and it does take you a lot. You have to keep, like I said, it gets confused. So if you put too many prompts together, it creates some weird images.
Okay. That makes
So
sense.
I know to be careful when doing my own AI images.
Yes. Armand, did you have one? Go ahead.
I got Canvas. I used Canvas for my books.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's
it's a
awesome.
really awesome software. It's really fun to play around too. You can put in your own photos, and they can make you look like you're an anime character, or that if you wanted to put in your picture and make you look like a superhero, like it can do a lot of cool things. It's fun to play around with.
It's really cool.
Oh,
Yeah.
So when you said, did you say 8 as in like just the number 8 or 80 for the amount of time that it took you?
No, yeah, 8 hours. I'd say about 8 hours. I don't have a lot of time. I got 4 kids, so I do it in the mornings when they're still sleeping, and I want to say probably like 8 hours combined.
That's incredible.
I feel like it's the right thing.
Does anybody else have any questions? Well, thank you so much.
Of
Is there
course,
anywhere that we're able to like look at books that you've written, or like are you publishing soon, hopefully?
So this book, I was getting really frustrated with trying to find an agent. So I just said, forget it. I'm going to do it myself. So this book I actually put up on YouTube, and I read it, so that it's starting to be shared online on YouTube. But a lot of people were like, where can I buy the book? And so I'm like, well, I'll just self-publish this. So I created this. I went on Ingram Spark yesterday, and I'm probably going to publish it within the week. So I can send the link to you, Danielle, if you want, whenever it's up there. And then my other book's already published, but like I said, I don't like the illustrations. It's on Amazon if you search for my name, but I'm going to try and do more of these.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much. This is really cool.
Thank you.
And I know it taught a lot of us a lot of things that we didn't know about before. It's so cool how artificial intelligence is allowing us to save so much time and cut out a lot of different steps. So
I just love that it gives me the ability to do something I couldn't do before. So it is awesome.
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you guys for this opportunity. It was awesome.
Thank you. It was wonderful to talk to you.
Same. Bye.
All right. Bye.